normally when a writer comes up here, they usually read from their book. I'm horrible at doing that. I usually like to read like what I've written like last week and some really fresh stuff. So I'm going to kind of skip around a little bit on a lot of different ideas of things that I've been writing recently, so bear with me on that journey. Coming back here at AACC, I felt really nostalgic and wanted to kind of share some of the poems that I worked on here with people like Susan and Brandy and Jackie, but also some of the stuff that I'm working on now. So I wanted to kind of start with some of that older stuff and kind of give you a brief journey of what my writing journey has been like for the past few years. So I'll start with a Maryland poem that's called I Was Lost in Tokyo. A man who fell off his bike in the intersection asks me where I'm from. He says, Maryland. Oh, what a small place. He sings it like an elegy, and though he is speaking Japanese and I English, I understand his song. This city is half the size of my state. It is full of many busy people who will not forgive themselves. The cars wait as the man gets to his feet and walks to the sidewalk, telling me how to get back home. Even though I'm so close, I get lost 5, 6 more times because I can't tell what on my map is a road, what is an alley, where everyone fits in all this small place, the sky. So the first collection that I worked on was called Your Son. It's about my relationship with my father and my relationship with Maryland as a place. So I grew up in my father's childhood home, and it was a complete hot mess. It's a 50s rancher built by a bunch of people that are not qualified to build. So my childhood was filled with crickets in the bathtub and my dad finding snakes in the walls, mice in my clothes drawers. It was kind of really a crazy mess, but that lifetime that I was there, like that whole childhood I had was seeing my father build and rebuild this place. So much that he never really had free time. He was just rebuilding the mistakes of people before him. So one of the poems kind of about that I have is called Open House for Hambly Wallace. So Hambly Wallace is a house in North Carolina, and it was built by a man named Egbert Hambly, of all names, and he died of typhoid. My father says he died because he had such a horrendous name. So, open house for Hambly Wallace. Hambly died of typhoid at 44. Rich men always die right when their houses are finished, my father says, as he builds his own house over and over again every day. My childhood is a series of rooms whose floors need replacing. A woman tells me that wives put linoleum tiles over hardwood floors just to do something different than their mothers. My father takes out walls, and I hope this symbolizes the removal of his father's desire for tight, compartmentalized experiences. And though there are still empty bathrooms and leaking ceilings, strangers admire our house from the road, which grows like a teenager out of its awkward facade. Now, here as we stand in the grass, waiting to enter a stranger's house, I need to tell him before I'm gone, always leave one stone missing, one nail loose and hanging, never fully hammered in. This next poem is called Being Mistaken as Your Father's Wife at the annual woodworking show. And unfortunately, this is not the only poem I have with this title. If you want to hear some interesting stories afterwards, feel free to grab me. The ticket my father hands me reads, $2 off admission for spouse. The woman at the counter asks me, is this your wife? My life needs no police investigations. I am not a mail order bride, not a Mormon daughter wife. My father is just thrifty. He just forgets my birthday. I am 17 and I've never been kissed. But the woman doesn't ask for my testimony. She just stamps our hands like everyone else and lets us enter the woodworking show. We're in the middle of a fairground, and I realize People don't ask questions here. The other women at the show are all older than me, married to men with shirts that read, "He who has the most tools wins." These men don't look at me or talk to me. They ask my father what he likes to make, and he pats my back and says, "My daughter is the real craftsman here." They always look surprised when I sit at the scroll saw and cut out plywood hearts, so small and easy to break. I make them in one cut to display how quickly I can turn, how thin and smooth the outside edge is. It is then that I am made known. So after I dealt with all the dad poems, I kind of moved to mom poems in my collection, Rotary Phones and Facebook. And so actually, I'm going to read one that's literally from it. This is my token reading poem called Ritual. When I came home from university, my mother offered to paint my nails. I cried, but my mother asked, "Would you like pink or purple, blue or red?" These simple life choices condensed into their rawest form. She took the alcohol swab to my fingers, erased my chipping past, and started with a color I had never noticed before. "Oh, look how beautiful your fingers are," she said. I kept my gaze to the window, but my mother went forward, each stroke complete and clean, creating for me a new identity, a place to return, something to pick up and carry in my hand. For the girl we almost adopted. Unnamed sister, whatever country you would have come from, when it's dark and lonely and the world feels inexplicably lonely with demons, I wish I could call you and tell you that I'm afraid of dying. And you would tell me that for the first year of your life, no one held you or so much as touched you. And oh, how wretched it was to not know if anyone would ever love you. And we would both sob across the world, but would be better for it. My sister, did I ever tell you that when I came home from school, my mother and I would flip through Samaritan's Purse magazines to the end and look through the orphans up for adoption? I'd ask what their illnesses meant and study their faces and background pictures, trying to learn something true about them, something that no description could tell me about them. I looked for friends in those places. My mother tried to find a child she thought we could help, that we could love. How could she know that for the next 10 years, there would be days where she couldn't leave her bed until dark, wandering the house with ghost-like pain and sleeplessness? Whatever your illness, I would have named you and carried you. Even if you hated me, I would have saved a treat in my lunch for you and given you all my dolls. In grade school, when our class ran late, all the mothers and siblings gathered outside the door, waiting for us to finish. And I imagined also you standing there, waiting for me, for someone to be waiting for me. And I told myself you were coming soon. Have you ever felt that you had to live the lives of 5 children who were never born? My mother says that this is what makes me all the more spectacular to her, that there's just one of me, and I wonder if you were here, would I hate you for that splendor you'd bring to us? Only now, 20 years later, does my mother get rid of all her collected bins, those baby gates, my old onesies, a playpen, stroller, but still not the toys. She's dreamed of you for that long, but now I see how thin her bones are, how sometimes God gives us inexplicable dreams or we wake up right before they're finished. How long did my mother try to fight for you, wanting one of those loud, beautiful families that all eat around the table for dinner, that all go to Bible study and sing stories about their day? If you were here, we could talk about the time our father unicycled down the road so fast we thought he'd hit the neighbor's dog, or the year you were afraid of snow, how it took almost 2 years for you to let any of us touch you. But when you did, you opened into this miraculous spirit that none of us could have ever imagined. How you would have saved us all if you had ever come to us. This is my token Bollywood poem. I sincerely believe that everyone should have a token Bollywood poem. I'm fighting to make that a trend. In high school, Miti brought saris in the morning, and we'd change in the bathroom stalls while the first bell went off. We'd skip through the halls, arms linked, singing the lyrics to Bollywood songs that the white girls didn't know. Because I didn't think of myself as one of the white girls. I like to think of myself as dark like the henna Miti pressed into my hand. I like to think of my eyes as heavy and strange in a world of girls with booty shorts. Miti works late shifts at Subway, even though she's a religious vegetarian, and dates a boy 6 years older than her. When she gets perfumes, she sprays it on 15 times around her body until I can find her by smell. When I get home from class, I watch Aishwarya Rai movies and wonder, what do you have to do to get that beautiful? I dance with my fingers close to my head. I dance like my life is one of those Bollywood films, and this is the scene where the heroine sings about loneliness. So last year, I got married. I had about a 4-month engagement period. It was complete chaos. And I was looking for a wedding dress. And wedding dresses are ridiculously expensive, so I was looking for alternatives. So I resorted to eBay and Googling for wedding dresses there, which I want to tell you that's not a good idea. It's a horrible idea, actually. And I found lots of those made in China, like $20 dresses that look suspiciously beautiful. And the description of one of them, which cracked me up, said, "Please buy it now. You can receive the top quality dress. The dress can fit you well. The dress is the same as the photos. The dress can make you look more beautiful." So no guarantee, just that can. So this is called eBay wedding dress. I'm thinking about buying my wedding dress off eBay. There's plenty of them out there that don't take 9 months to make or $10,000. There's 99-cent wedding gowns with free shipping from China, stock photos of preteen models on tacky sets, pictures of warehouses of dresses for reassurance that this is real, that you will love your cheap, beautiful dress. It just seems too good to be true. I want to believe it. I don't want to think about how much that girl in China makes for sewing for 14 hours in the back room of some dim factory, preparing dresses for strangers. I don't want to think about her hands running over that fabric, dreaming of her own wedding, knowing she could never afford a Western white dress like this. On the site, she posts pictures of outdoor models, even sometimes tries on the dresses herself. And for a moment, she can imagine that this is real. If asked, she'll say that that in and of itself is satisfying. So I'm gonna move into a collection of poems. It's my newest chapbook called A Week in Beijing. And it's on pre-release right now for January. And I'm not saying that just as a promotional pitch, but this collection is very special to me because it was my first poetry collection I ever started. And I started it here in Brandy's class at AACC. What happened was I went to China in 2006, and I was really trying to process the experience. It was a very weird experience. I traveled a lot, but this was very different. It was about a year before the Beijing Olympics. It was dead cold. It was like in December, and my parents had no idea what we were doing. We get out there, we're the only tourists, and this guy greets us by, "What are you doing here? It's not the Olympics yet." So that was like the welcome to China that we got. And we just experienced, it was the first time I really experienced a world different than mine. I traveled a lot, and it was all in the plush of 4-star hotels and this beautiful place. But here we were walking on the streets, and I would see people in true poverty, and I'd see the ugliness of the city, because they weren't in tourist season. So all the ugliness was there, and it was when they were ripping down the Hutan region. I mean, it was just all very visible. I was trying to process this. I was thinking about censorship and religious persecution. I was even thinking about my own body image, how I couldn't fit into any of the like large size there. It was like a size 00. So I was like processing all this, and it was very bold,